All NPCs are now named David from here on out.
We can't have nice things!
This video contains spoilers for episode 25 of Campaign 3. Hello everybody, my name is Luna and welcome to Crit Role Conspiracies, the show where we talk about all the wild and wacky theories that critters have about Critical Role. Bell's Hells were bumbling about in Bassaras, but before we get to that, we have to talk about that brand new intro. This new animated intro focuses on the players with little sprinkles here and there of their characters throughout. And it uses rotoscoping, which is this animation technique where each frame of a video is drawn over, kind of giving it this hybrid between animation and live action. The intro opens with this shot of the Bell's Hells as minis, followed by this kind of space wormhole deal with celestial symbols, perhaps pointing to a Spelljammer tie-in later this campaign. Laura leaps across floating dice with skyships hovering in the background, surrounded by Imogen's signature purple lightning. Ashley slices through that lightning with a sword, much like Yasha would have done, and the lightning transforms into petals and leaves very reminiscent of Fern's aesthetic. Taliesin smashes this chaotic crystal, and Travis rages very much like Grog, but then with this wolfish nod to Chetney. Sam surfs across the screen on a sword with cog shapes very subtly hidden amongst the background. Liam catches that sword and we see some of Orem's nature elements curling up his arm and leaves shooting out. Those leaves travel across to Marisha, giving a nod to Orem's connection to Marisha's character Keyleth. And I also love how she is standing on the chair in reference to Marisha's absolute inability to sit properly in chairs. She has black liquid seeping from her hands like Lordna, and then we get the classic action hero group pose. Similar to the Mighty Nein animated intro, we see Matt holding a book and figures floating around him. There is Sir Bertrand Bell, Dorian Storm, Lord Estros, and Dusk. I'm glad there is still space in this intro for guests, and hopefully that will continue. Having a look online, it seems like a lot of people were quite surprised at this new intro popping up relatively soon after the launch of the campaign. I think the reason we got this new intro fairly early on is because the company did receive some criticism about the original intro and its use of colonialist archetypes and aesthetics, and if that's true, I'm really happy and impressed. I think that critique was well founded, and I think it really demonstrates Critical Role's willingness to listen and learn and kind of take this as an opportunity to move in a new direction that really does suit very well what Critical Role is all about. This intro really highlights the players versus the characters like we've had in previous intros, and I think that is what Critical Role is. It is this group of people who we would probably watch play any character really, and they've really put their signature mark on this intro, and quite literally because they all sign their names as little signatures in the opening credits. Okay, into the game! Sam is wearing this ridiculous outfit again, continuing his tradition of dressing in the exact same outfit for the exact same episodes through campaigns 1, 2, and 3. Just waiting for that leprechaun one to come back. We pick up with the group on their way to a Taste of Tal'Dorei, a 24-hour themed restaurant which was everything I could hope for, and you know what, maybe in a few years' time, we'll get an actual Taste of Tal'Dorei in real life. The servers are all dressed as famous figures from Tal'Dorei's past.
Somebody else, you could see this man with a big, bushy, dark beard, his like sun-weathered skin, wearing a large, kind of haphazardly made bronze crown, like a king's crown on his head, as he wields a large sword that he kind of drags behind him that you can tell is more for show than not. Steps up to another table and goes, "And what, pray tell, do you wish to ask of King Dressig?"
No way! No.
By that I mean, what would you like to drink?
King Dressig is a powerful figure from Tal'Dorei's history who seized power in Aman and ruled over the Aman and kind of conquered all of these neighboring and outlying smaller settlements and ruled with a very cruel and vicious way, leading to a rebellion called the Scattered War, in which a group of rebels finally were able to kill him.
Aha! This realm is mine to rule! And I will... You shush your mouth or be slain by the Dark King Warren Dressig!
Oh no! He's calling you out.
Now kneel before me! And suddenly behind... Do not kneel before him! You see the woman who was going for the first table goes... He is but an imposter! A terrible plague upon the free peoples of our land! And the guy dresses Warren turns and goes, Zan Tal'Dorei?
Oh.
And Zan Taldore became the first sovereign, and Guisar, as it was known at the time, was renamed as Taldore in her honor. She set up the Taldore Council, which still exists in current-day Exandria.
The third server comes through. A tall Goliath figure, you know, half giant in blood, wearing deep blues and whites, his face painted like a blue and white coloration, and himself wearing this tall crown of what looks to have been handcrafted clay, almost like icicles that point upward. There's some of them chipped and broken in places, and you can see it's have like been affixed and with wire in one or two spaces, who turns to another table before looking at you. Ha! And who disturbs the realm of Erebon, the Rime Lord?
Oh no!
Oh, yes!
Oh, we surrender!
Then you shall surrender into my realm by the great mirror of Everwatching. How many's in your party?
Erebon the Rime Lord invaded Taldore and transformed it into an icy landscape with a never-ending winter. Zan Taldore managed to convince Craghammer and Singorn to join forces along with the Ashari to drive back the forces and seal the rift in the Frostweald, putting to an end the ice-lost years. In the restaurant, there is a whitestone crest on the wall, as well as the symbol of Craghammer and this ivy mirror, which I couldn't quite work out what it might be related to. Let me know if you have an idea in the comments. And there are some fabulous menu items. There's the Taldore Great Rum Extravaganza, the Chroma Conclave Sample Platter, Ashari Breezes, Thordax Pepper Poppers, Singorn's Disappearing Sausage. Not sure if that's going to be canon. Honestly, I'm really tempted to make some videos doing a Taste of Taldore menu items. Over lunch, Dusk explains that she is looking for two people who helped her in the Feywild. They helped her find her way through the Feywild, and they also helped her come back to the material plane, and they got separated as they were sort of porting through. And then she pulls out a locket with pictures of these two people.
There are two figures. Well, they're kind of like a gently drawn, painted portrait. Both of them are unfamiliar to all of you except for you.
Lore.
There is two familiar portraits of the Calloway parents that birthed you.
The Calloway parents? Her parents.
Oh. How do you know them?
From the Feywild. Do you know them?
Yes, those are my parents.
I knew that Dusk was going to be a tie to the Feywild and a way for the party to get to the Feywild to potentially find out more about Fern, but not, like, actually knowing her parents. That's really cool. Fern explains that she hasn't seen her parents for about 90 years, but both her and Dusk acknowledge that time is a weird soup in the Feywild, and they can't really be sure exactly how much time has passed and in what order things happened there. We have had allusions to this in the past, but we do get explicit confirmation that Fern's parents were basically royalty in the Seelie Court, as is Fern herself, and they were sent on an important mission, a quest. But Fern doesn't know what it was about. We do know that they were in Aeor, although we have no idea what time they were there. Aeor, of course, is the pre-Calamity city that the Mighty Nine explored the ruins of in Campaign 2, and we know that Aeor was developing weapons to kill the gods, and this scared the gods so much that the Betrayer gods and the Prime Deities actually formed an alliance for a brief period of time in the Calamity to strike it down, and then they went back to fighting their war. Perhaps Fern's parents had been sent there to gather intel on what Aeor was doing, or perhaps they were there after it crashed. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Heck, her parents might even know a certain somebody from EXU Calamity. If you've watched it, you know who I'm talking about. If you haven't watched it, you should. It's really, really, really good. I can't wait to see how all of this connects to Aeor and how Fern's parents connect to the Nightmare King as well. It almost feels too good. Like, it almost feels like too juicy and easy of a connection. I'm worried that Matt Mercer is going to take this reunion away from us. I swear to God if he does. I'd like to say a quick thank you to my patrons and my YouTube members, and a big welcome to new YouTube member, The Pizzo. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by signing up on Patreon or by becoming a member right here on YouTube. You just have to click the big join button down there. Thank you! Dusk also talks about their tattoo and how she doesn't know exactly how she got it or when, and same with her like sword and her armor. She does kind of point out that like her and Orym's tattoos are similar, and since hers has waves in it, that leads me to believe that she could be from the Water Ashari. We know that the Water Ashari live on Vestra in the Osmid Sea, and they patrol the seas there, and they guard the rift there to the elemental plane of water. There was this great theory in the comments of my last Bells Hells video, suggesting that Dusk could have been a part of Vilya's Aramente team when she went and fought the Kraken, and that she somehow got sucked in and sent to the Feywild. Wild, if true. We've also had some theories that Dusk is a Pact of the Blade warlock, and that Morrigan, Fern's grandmother, could be her patron. Laudna suggests that maybe Imogen could delve into Dusk's memories to see what she can learn, but she's worried that it's going to be a little bit too traumatic, so instead, Imogen decides to try sending a message to Fern's mother.
Immediately the voice responds, "Oh my goodness. Our Fern! Our Fern! Did you hear that? You said Bossers. We're a few days out from our next trek. We'll meet at Joe's."
So exciting. I'm so happy that they're like alive and hopefully nearby. They say they will meet the Bells Hells at Imahara Joe's, who is a tinkerer type who lives in the Ends. Matt confirmed on Twitter that Imahara is a tribute to Grant Imahara, who is best known for his work on Mythbusters, who very sadly passed away in 2020. The whole episode, Imogen has been acting hurt about what happened with Laudna, which is not really helped by Dusk just outright asking her, "Hey, so you and Laudna, huh? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, Dusk, maybe just settle down. We know Erika Ishii has a pretty good track record." Imogen confides in Orym that she is feeling jealous about this growing friendship from Dusk. It's only been an hour or so, but it's clearly affected her. And I think she's hurt that Laudna doesn't seem to have shown that she cares about the argument that they had. She does also admit, though, that the more time passes, the more she feels like it was a good thing that the stone has been broken. I think lending more evidence to the theory that the Null Rock was somehow corrupting her. I hope that we get some juicy details about that from Laura soon. Despite perhaps acting otherwise, Laudna is very upset about what's been happening with Imogen, and so she seeks out the advice of FCG.
"I'm so sorry that you're going through this, and I would love to sort of facilitate a meeting of the minds if you'll be up for it, and maybe I could talk to her and tell her how stressed out you are, and oh boy, you just pulled out a clump of hair there."
As well as Ashton.
I think maybe we've got to figure out a rock-based apology, if that makes sense.
I said a spiky rock.
Yeah, but like...
Like thematically?
More than thematically, like an understanding of the offense, if that makes sense. An apology that actually speaks to what happened.
Do I have to get her a new rock?
I mean,
I don't know if I could replace
putting some
that.
energy into a new rock might not be a bad idea.
She does give Imogen some gifts from the Taste of Tal'Dorei gift shop, which Imogen accepts, so hopefully these two can patch it up soon. They head out to follow the trail of Armand Treshy using that scrying ball that they have from Lord Estros, and they end up at a pawn shop called the River of Renewal. Surprise, surprise, Treshy pawned his ring because he left the city with basically nothing. Dusk goes in and casts Suggestion on the shopkeep, learning that Armand Treshy is probably at the Seat of Disdain, which is the headquarters for the Paragon's Call. This fortress is straight out of Mad Max, and they spend some time trying to work out how they're going to infiltrate it, but then of course Fern just does what Fern does best. She turns into a quokka. It's funny hearing the Americans say quokka, because here we say quokka. Or maybe that's just me. Australians, let me know how you say it in the comments. But yes, if you're not familiar with this adorable Australian animal, here it is in all of its super duper cute glory. I'm gonna go ahead and boast and say that I've pet a quokka before, and they are so soft, they are so cute and adorable. Greatest 5 minutes of my life. Fern burrows under the gate, and continuing in a very Australian theme, she meets a person called... Okay, I'm gonna say this very clearly so I don't get in trouble. Mike Hunt.
Just call me Mick!
Fern gets carried into the compound by someone who wants to keep her as a pet, but she doesn't see Treshy, although she does see General Ratanish, who is the person Ashton got in a fist fight with at the ball that they attended. After some slightly panicking moments when it looked like she was gonna get locked in a room or in a box somewhere, she manages to escape, or really she gets kicked out by biting one of the mercenaries. The party spends some time debating how they're going to find Treshy or how they're going to lure him out. I think the only thing we can say for certain is no matter what they plan, it is going to go terribly wrong as soon as they try and enact it, and they'll end up doing something completely different. I do hope they stick with FCG's idea about hijacking a crawler, just because that would be so good. In the meantime, while everyone is arguing, Imogen returns to the River of Renewal to get a handwriting sample from the shopkeeper that they can use to forge a letter to Armand Treshy. She gets this receipt from Arden Hero, who is this kind of big shot around here. Ashton is very impressed to hear their name. And then Orym uses that to forge a letter that basically says to Treshy, I have a proposition about how you can get your ring back. The plan is for Dusk to deliver it in the morning, and hopefully it will draw him out of wherever he's hiding. Oh, it's so good to be back with Belle's Hells. I did miss them. Let me know your theories about Dusk and Fern's parents in the comments. That's where I'm super interested right now, as well as how this all ties in with the Treshy plot with the Nightmare King. Plus, I'm super curious to hear your thoughts about the new intro. Did you like it? Did you not like it? It seemed to get a very mixed reception on the internet as far as I saw. Quick note, next week's episode is going to be out a day or two late because I'm going to be on vacation this weekend. Yay! Well, until next time, don't forget to say your NPC names out loud before you run your game. Bye!
Maybe you should focus on an apology that's related to the offense, if that makes sense. Maybe let's focus on, instead of...
I should prostrate myself on the ground.
No.
On top of a spiky rock.
I mean...
Let her step on me.
I'm not going to tell you not to do that because that would be kind of cool, but no. I think maybe we've got to figure out a rock-based apology, if that makes sense.